Hi. Today the theme is independent film, and our guest is Zulfikar Filandra. He is a filmmaker from Bosnia, and we are going to talk about independent film, about his film that he just launched last year. It's called Minotaur, and about the Independent Film Society and everything. He just arrived, so he can present himself, and we can start. Hi,
Hi,
how are you?
very good. I hope you too.
Yes, I am. Good to hear that. There's some time of working here, but the sounds. I believe people will hear myself, but there are some noises in the street. Um, you can present yourself, and then we just start talking. At this time, it's in the morning, Brazil, so but they will see it later.
Thank you, Mariani, for inviting me. It's around 4 o'clock, 16 here. I just finished some work, and to present myself, my name is Zulfikar. I'm 31. I'm a filmmaker. I mostly right now, but I'm trained as a theater and filmmaker. I am trying to do a lot of stuff besides, maybe going into visual art a bit more. I'm quite inspired by artistic practices, maybe sometimes more often than cinematic heritage. So yeah, I'm doing a bit of curating. I'm living now a lot between Sarajevo and Belgrade. I have a girlfriend in Belgrade, so I'm very often there. And I have some projects related to curating there. Yeah,
Good.
nothing extra.
Yeah, I feel like with the pandemic and everything, for filmmakers, it's more like a time of revisiting works and pre-productions of the next ones. What do you think about it?
Well, I am of belief, and I have been influenced by philosophy in which the footage itself sometimes doesn't have to be determinantal. So my friends and me, I'm talking about the crew from Experimental Film Society. I'm a member of this group. We believe that you don't even have to make a film. You don't even have to shoot something. You can use the material that you already have, and maybe repurpose it, re-edit it in a different way. So in a sense, pandemic time for me was very much about revisiting some materials that I already have. For example, I came back to one video that I did, I don't know, 7-8 years ago, and I re-edited it, and I'm gonna now present it as something new, because it is new. You know, it's a good question. What is new? What is not really new? If you make a combination of, for example, if you combine films that already exist, it's still a creation by you. I think I think creation in this, if we think about creativity in this way, I think it's very liberating, because people always have a issue with, I don't have a good camera, I don't have actors, blah, 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 blah. Well, actually, you know, we believe that filmmaking is mostly about editing and organizing footage. So if you don't have your own footage, take somebody else's footage and make your own film, in my belief. It's much better than not to do anything, if you understand me.
Yeah, I understand, and I totally agree, because I have a lot of footage uh, for years. I record videos since when I was a kid, and looking back at all those materials, I work also with editing. It's a lot of things, and if you give a footage for five people, for example, they will edit five different things that are unique and they are their essence. So I totally agree with that concept, and it is like experimenting the narrative and everything that we shooted and everything, and it's like kind of revisiting ourselves too, because what we recorded at the moment and how we choose that. And now I'm gonna ask you more about that process in your film that you showed me and that you launched last year, the Minotaur project. And yeah, tell me more about it.
Like you said, the experiment in this kind of uncreative creation, the experiment is in the question, you know, can this become a film or not? Maybe the answer is not. So it's an experiment in a way that it's an attempt without some sort of, you are not sure what will be the result.
Yeah, it's
way,
more organic. It creates the shape while we are doing.
Yeah, but it's a bit like mathematics also. In my English is bad with mathematics, but
more logical or more.
You have an X. You have something in this relation that is unknown, and then the film itself becomes some sort of process. And in this way, it's much more maybe related to something that people today understand as art or modern contemporary art, and not to traditional films. Because in a way, I think the problem with traditional films very much so is that if you've seen, everybody on the planet has seen at least several hundred films, you know, or thousands, you already know what will be happening, you know. And
yeah, there's a formula that works, and people use that formula to create something inside that box.
Yes, it's especially with TV shows, you know, it becomes very formulaic. Like most TV shows, the middle is too long.
Yeah.
There is a small beginning, extremely long middle. The middle gets extended as much as possible if the TV show is popular, and then there is a very usually bad ending that nobody is happy about, because you cannot really have a sufficient ending for such a long middle, you know, if you know what I mean. But it doesn't
Sorry,
really
that's a garbage truck just in front of my house right now.
Cool. Which city are you in?
Valinhos. It's close to São Paulo.
Okay.
In Brazil.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. I'd love to visit. So your question was something about Minotaur. Well, something like this it's somehow related to all that we talked about, to repurposing things, and but in my mind, I think the most important thing is to keep your materials.
Yeah.
So if you are, and for example, I also kept everything I shot, I filmed since I was 15. For some reason, I was believing that this could be important somehow, someday.
Yeah.
But I was
yeah. Sorry, because now I have a question, because I also always did a lot of videos, but I wasn't, how can I say, I was too insecure to think that I would show it. It was more like I was recording for me or for close friends. But now looking at that footage, I see that it can be repurposed. Did you have that feelings, or when you were shooting at a younger age, you thought that somehow you would show that to
No,
people?
no, 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 no. I mean, of course, I'm experimenting a lot with intimacy in a way. Does anybody care about intimacy? Is a question for me. Is anybody actually provoked by anybody else's intimacy? And I think it's somehow very connected to Instagram.
Yeah.
My favorite kind of Instagram is to discover somebody who is very intimate on Instagram. You know, you see that this is, you don't know anything about this person, but you can maybe get some sort of mood of their existence or of their life, or some certain fascinations they have. And I think Instagram used to be, at least used to be, very interesting in this sense. People, when maybe if we go back 5 or 6 years ago, people didn't know what to do with it, so everybody was doing it on their own way. Somebody was taking pictures of just windows, somebody was just taking pictures of his books, somebody was taking pictures of people sleeping next to them. So I think this intimacy is very interesting because in a political way, what we are currently very much constantly exposed to is not intimate at all. It is very produced,
Very shallow.
but not, it doesn't have to be shallow, but it's very intentional and always very produced. I mean, very expensive, very thought out. And I'm interested in this sort of expression, which is maybe instinctive, you know, which is maybe, I think we live in a very, I think we live in some sort of very rational time, and at the same time, all of us have very emotional problems. So I think
Agree.
to deal with these emotional issues that the whole planet has, I think expressing emotions, first of all, is key. But sometimes you don't even understand your own emotions, which can help you maybe create something that you don't even understand, which I think is interesting. I think this is very honest, because if you create something, even a film, and if the idea is too simple, maybe it works, but in my book, I think okay, you know, it's like, okay, I can read about your film, which is okay enough. I mean, for example, people don't have to watch my film, they can just think about it. Okay, there is this guy who made a film by using his old films and his private footage, his friends, his girlfriends, his parents, anything, stuff from the road. Yeah, you can think about it, which is maybe enough. You know, we live in the age of internet, where you don't actually have the time to go deep into things. So I think to create something interesting is sufficient, just to give people something to think about.
Yeah, I agree, and make them work with their imagination, for example. And now, what you thought made me remember, there are some art or videos or whatever you create that it can also transmute kind of feelings. Because, for example, last year, I had, how can I say, I don't know how to translate in English, but I but I was in a ayahuasca ceremony in Brazil.
Okay, I understand. I understand.
Yeah, and I had an image about a short video that I had to do it, and I do it. No budget, I asked my friends to do it. I didn't find an actress to do it. So I was the actress, but I wanted some actresses, but I couldn't find. And the story was about a couple in an airport. I can show you maybe some other time. And I wrote, and I had that idea because I was having a crush in a guy last year. And well, he found someone and he moved on. And for me to finish that film was like a symbolic. So to kind of wrap it up, that crush that I had, that rejection, and then I created something. So for me, it was symbolic, but also it was something that I had an ayahuasca vision too.
Yes, yes, yes. In this way, films can be probably what is the point of them, you know? If it's useful for you, that's great, you know.
Yeah.
In my book, if it helps you, doesn't even have to help somebody else, you know. You will make another film, but simply if you are exposed to I think the point of people doing things cheap, or even by stealing some other people's music or stealing some other people's images, I think the point is simply to get inspired. And
to get what?
Inspired.
Sorry.
To get inspired.
Inspired, yeah.
And to simply say, okay, if this person did this, I can do it as well. And I think this is something very interesting about today's cinema. I think more people than ever before are exposed to making films. A lot of these films are terrible, of course. I love to watch these extremely bad stuff. For example, people on Reddit. You have on Reddit people constantly, I made my first short film, please take a look.
Oh my gosh.
It's wonderful. It's terrible. But at the same time, it's very interesting, you know, and I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a very beautiful thing that somehow, the only bad thing about these films is that very often they all look the same. They are trying to do very cheap tools to create something that they think should look expensive, you know. They are trying to be they are poor, and they are imitating the expensive image that comes from Hollywood, that comes from Netflix. And in my head, in my mind and the mind of my friends, filmmaking friends, people from Experimental Film Society, it's you shouldn't do that. You should respect
I agree with that. We should do something that it's ours.
Absolutely.
But when people are younger, they are still figuring out who they are. So I guess creating something more authorial is more like they are experimenting too. And I agree with your point about they are trying to emulate what they have as a reference, and that's important to have diverse references. I mean, today everyone watches the same films. There is plenty of amazing films outside Netflix, and people just watch the same things. It's not a problem to watch it, but they have only that kind of reference of what is an experiment of filming. So
yes. In this way, the pool of references can become very, very small. You know, very small.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there is a beautiful opportunity today more than ever before. I think this is my story. You know, I belong, I hope, to some sort of youngest or newest generation of Bosnian filmmakers, and especially thanks to internet, we were able to get exposed to some very weird stuff, you know, like Japanese 70s experimental stuff, Teshigahara, anybody, you know, or to some early, you know, anybody today can find very interesting stuff on YouTube, you know. And this is, I think, very revolutionary, very revolutionary. And you know, everybody can find Maya Deren, everybody can find Man Ray. So these people that are, Maya Deren, for example, she talks so much about the power of not being a professional, but being an amateur. And she uses this amateur word in its original form, that you are doing something because you love it.
Yeah.
And that's
also,
the
root. That's the root of the word.
Yes, that's the root of the word. And also, if you think about Zen, if you think about Zen Buddhism, they always emphasize the beginning, to think like a beginner. They say if you are thinking too much like an expert, and today we live in an age of experts, you know. But if you say, I'm not an expert, I'm just somebody who loves this, I'm trying, I don't know how to make films, but I'm making films, you know, maybe in 30 years you will become a real expert, you know. No, I mean, you know what I mean? I'm saying I'm fascinated with people who don't know what they are doing, but they have an inner need, you know. I think for me, this is the only thing that is respectable. When you see something, when you read something, when you go to an exhibition, if you can feel some sort of inner need in this person, it's okay. It's good stuff. Never mind, is it very good or just good? I think this is, or it can even be a very interesting mistake or a very good failure. You know, a very good failure is very interesting, you know. There are some films, you know, you can see that filmmaker has some sort of problem that he's figuring out through this film. I think this is very interesting. I mean, when we even when you think about Tarantino, you know, I think people Quentin Tarantino is probably the only respectable filmmaker out of these popular ones, you know, today. But people love him because he's so very there is a certain perversion about him, you know. Nobody can explain why does he have a food fetish, but he has a food fetish, and people like this. People respect this perversion, and people respect this idiosyncrasy. Okay, so he always uses music that we don't know. Okay, this I think when you see these super successful people, what they are doing, they are simply cultivating their own peculiar, unique stuff. Everybody we love these famous artists because they are unique. And how are they unique? They're simply probably respecting their instinct or some sort of. So I think this is the way this can be done, even when you are working with no budget or with no real budget. You should. I don't think it's a problem to make a film anymore. At the same time, you know, okay, it's very easy to make a film, but what to do with it? Why are you making it? Is a second step, and I think it should be. Think about also, and I think the solution is one of the big solutions is simply to devote time to exploring history of cinema. And if you explore the history, if you take time to watch, then you can relate maybe your practice to somebody else, which you don't even have to, but it could be useful to simply. Despite the fact that we live in this beautiful age where anybody can make film, okay, we should still think about what kind of films make sense. For me, as again, I would say something that is simply like a X-ray of somebody's passion about something. This is something respectable in my eyes.
Yeah, and that's why it's important to have a curator to just yeah, kind of separate for the moment or the type of vibe of film, because yeah, there are different artists, different vibes of films. Tarantino, you said about it. When uh I don't know, I was 11 the first time I saw Tarantino, and I was kind of shocked, and I really liked, because I had a lot of rage inside of me. So watching that film and see people getting revenge, for me, was awesome. Right now, it's not my cup of tea, but I respect him. And I think it's different vibes. I studied films. I went to college and studied in a formal way, but I don't believe that we need that to be a filmmaker. And that's
Yeah.
what I was going to talk about, because you were telling about making films and everything. And when I was in the academy, what bothered me, it was more like too much talking about film and less doing films. So for me, movies is about taking your camera and do, or take your footage and cut. And yes, but some people are more like, there is a place to everyone. Some people just like to just study the films and everything and write books about it, and it's okay. Did you got some formal education or not? I'm just asking for curiosity, because it's not relevant. But just to know.
No, of course. In my experience, it really depends in which society you exist as a filmmaker or as a future filmmaker.
Yeah.
If in your environment there is a lot of people who are not who didn't go to academy but they are making movies, for example, like in Turkey, it is very common for people not to go to film school and or to be, I don't know, something architect, photographer, lawyer, and then they end up getting the money for the films. So I think unfortunately, when we are talking about having a career, you know, and thinking about filmmaking in terms of decades, if after some sort of first experiences you have with cinema, after this love affair, you know, it's like any sort of relationship, you know, there is this
Yeah.
initial passion which is very mindless in a way, which is beautiful, it's pure. But after sometimes things cool down and then you start thinking, okay, do I want to do this for the next 20 years? Do I need the money for my future project? If I make okay, in my head, I don't want to stay, you know, in micro low budget forever, you know. Okay, in the
Yeah.
next project, I need more money. So in this way, in Bosnia, it's a very professional environment, and to go to the film school is essential. It's essential, some sort of moment for your CV to get the money. And 90% of the people who get money in Bosnia went to the film school. So this was not really the main reason for me to go to a film school, but of course, yes, I went to a school for directing, and I did directing in theater, and I did directing in films. So in
Cool.
some sense, I would recommend it. In some sense, I don't know. Maybe it's maybe my advice would be not to start these type of schools too young. Maybe
Yeah,
honestly.
I agree. I agree. I was in my 20s when I went to college, but most of people in my class were very younger. They were kind of 17, 18. Well, it's not a big difference, but from 17 and 18 to 20s, it is a little gap, but it's different. And I felt a little bit that in Brazil, to get financial support, they don't mind much about this type of studies. Here it's more strong, the publicities. Yeah,
How do you mean
but
publicity?
marketing people that are more in that type, they have a big space in the mainstream cinema here. And I didn't had anyone around me that was doing films. So for me to go to college was kind of an opportunity to meet people
Absolutely,
that
absolutely.
was into films too.
Just a second to fix some light. Just a
Okay.
second. It's getting a bit dark. But yeah, I think one of the essentially useful things about any sort of film school is the people you meet. And
Yeah.
I remember one of the first guys I ever worked for when I was a student in Dublin. He told me, Donald Foreman. He told me, yeah, you shouldn't finish the film school without at least a DOP, you know, a DOP friend,
Yeah.
or a editor friend, or a screenwriting friend. In a way, to make films on your own, completely on your own, I think is more or less impossible. Of course, it's possible, but it's almost impossible. So to have filmmaking is I think what is beautiful, if you look about history of cinema, these are all moments in life of groups of people. You know,
Yeah, I
there are
agree.
groups
It's
of
not
people,
it's not the figure of the director, it's the work of everyone involved. I totally agree with that.
and it's every film is like a documentary of itself. You know, it's a
Yeah.
documentary that sometime some people went to these places, they slept there, they had food there, they made a camp, there was some sort of dynamic inside the group, power dynamic, anything, you know. And it's fascinating to think about these. It's fascinating to think about these relationships that go behind, you know, behind the camera. What was going on, you know, between anybody, you know, Tarantino and Brad Pitt and DiCaprio. How was their morning? What was going on? Was something going on the day before? Some sort of very special scene? You know, how did the people in this environment react if they went to some sort of desert or anything? You know, it's a beautiful and it's always in a way some sort of story about friendship, which I think is beautiful. And in the case of my film, and when we are talking about this super intimate footage and what happens when you share it with somebody else, well, the first person I shared my materials with was the person who edited the film and produced the film. It's my friend Rusbeh Rashidi from Experimental Film Society. So it's not a film that I made myself. He was the editor. We worked in the editing room together very intensively. But the power of friendship that exists between me and Rusbeh enabled me to be very, how to say, maybe to open my own unconsciousness, maybe in a way, to not to be very conscious about what's going on, but to go in some sort of in-between state in which some sort of decisions or guidelines that I gave to him were very instinctive, in a way very fast, and they all turned out to be good, to be true. So this is something that was greatly enabled by our friendship, you know. If my editor was somebody that I didn't trust so much, that I didn't like so much, I would not be free, you know. It's like some sort of love-making session. It's the trust and yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So this is very important. The relationship you have with the people you are making the film with, even if it's an experimental film, you need somebody, you know. And this person is the objective eye in a way. Also, he will say, well, this is actually not good, you know. Nothing works.
I agree with that. It reminds me in my talk in the last week, we were talking about that, about group, about compatibility and everything, because yeah, it's important to have some friends. And as we make more videos, we see like some people are better to work together, and some people just no problem with the person, but maybe it's not compatible. For example, I use the example, sometimes if there is someone in the team that loves Tarantino, for example, and only have that reference, but you want to do something more contemplative or something, maybe he may not be the right person, or maybe he can transcend that and bring it's different. It's like we don't know what happened in the set. It's kind of unpredictable, but with the right people you can be safe in the unpredictable.
Yes, absolutely. And it should be unpredictable. That's the beauty of it. But
yeah.
I was like when I was a teenager or a bit older, I was somehow involved with high school bands or rock and roll bands, and I realized how sensitive it is, how very sensitive it is to accept somebody in this group. You know, if there are 3 people, okay, and if they are functioning good, that's precious and beautiful. So if you need another member of the band to play, I don't know, whatever, but if you need another member, it's very tricky, you know. This person that has to, that how to find the right person, does the vibe of the new person correspond, you know. I think it's very related to filmmaking too. Yeah, in my eyes, it's better to work with less people, but with people you trust, than with people you are not very certain about. You don't need this kind of headache, in a way.
Yeah, I agree, and also use the intuition. And that can lead me to another question, because I found very interesting the Experimental Film Society. So how open you are to new members, and if someone is watching here, and if myself too can join, how can it happen? Yeah.
Oh, I'm not sure how new people get in. Probably new people get in through the people that are already inside. You know, it's some sort of network of friends. The leader of the group is this friend of mine, Rusbeh Rashidi, my editor, and the producer of the film. He came up to me as a curator, in a way. He came up to me and said, look, you made some short films. Yeah, they're not great, they're not bad, but maybe you can combine them. He said, I remember I was having breakfast with some friends in Vienna, and he said, I feel that maybe in these short films you did, there is a long film hiding, you know, like a big film hiding in between. So our original idea with Minotaur was that we can make it combining short films. Eventually we realized it's not working, and I had to make this decision to be very intimate and to give this material that was never intended probably to be public, and to push this material, you know, in the film, to feed the film and to feed the editing process with my personal footage. So Experimental Film Society, how to become a member, I don't know. Ask Rusbeh. And probably you should, anybody who is curious about that should have some sort of track. I don't think it's something open to beginners, in a way.
Yeah, I agree. And also, yeah, when we learn how to deal with people and get more have more self-confidence, it gets easier to do this type of network. I'm remembering the early years, for example, I was too insecure to ask people, to tell people, and to show my work. And yeah, I agree. It's like being the right place at the right time. I don't know. It's like let me see. Oh, there is a comment. Daniela is a photographer. I know her. She's from Brazil. Filmmakers in Brazil work with TV and use public funds to produce films for festivals, but the time spent on advertising and TV leaves little space to pursue cinema or a different kind of filmmaker. The audience here is also very small for certain productions that are more linked to other arts. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. And also
that's totally okay, because in a
yeah.
way, just to reply, I think filmmaking is possible even without confidence. Confidence is certainly essential for filmmaking, but I think you can make films even without confidence. It's only going to take a longer time, but you just need the images going on. You just need this inner need. I think even if it takes a decade or 2 decades, something will come out. If you make one good film in your life, that's it. I mean, you don't have to do more. And regarding not having time and things like that, it's simply a choice. It's a matter
a choice of priorities too, I guess.
Yes, of course. Everybody has to work, and this kind of filmmaking is extremely uncommercial, probably. But still, my belief is that if you are if you believe in it, if you're very persistent about it, you will do something small from time to time, and then maybe when, I don't know, in a year or 2 there is a big gap in your work, you're doing commercial projects, you can make something. Somebody can say that maybe commercial projects pollute the brain. That could be true. That could be true. Maybe I remember this sentence from Dustin Hoffman. He said, "Don't do bad work. You know, better to do nothing than to do something bad." So it's interesting. It's interesting. Maybe there is some sort of purity about intentions and things like that. But who knows? Who knows? There is no right way. In a way.
Yeah, I agree. There's no right or wrong. I believe it's something that the person feel right or not. I am in a moment where if I don't, how can I say, if I don't connect with the work, I don't do it. But yeah, and I feel free as soon as I have that privilege of doing that right now. But it wasn't like that. I already did some things just to pay my bills, just like everyone. But it's too draining when we do something that it's not aligned. I don't think it works out.
What was the last thing you said? I didn't understand. Sorry.
I feel like it's draining when we feel like something that's not aligned. Just to pay the bills, but I think it depends. Some people can just be more okay with that.
No, I would believe it's always draining, but it is the way the system is set up. In a way, it's not very encouraging or provocative, and there is no need really to make any sort of different kind of cinema. The market doesn't need this cinema. But if we talk about films only in terms of market value, I think we are missing out very much. And I think films are a beautiful machines in which we explore reality and in which we document different kinds of you can never get into the brain of another person, even the person you love. You'll never be able to connect this, you know. Maybe something happens in 100 years about it, but right now, you know, and forever it was like that. But if you watch films of other people, you can relate yourself to the world, and you can achieve, I think, the ultimate aim of art is to feel less lonely, you know, to feel less lonely in the world. So
I
maybe
agree.
if you don't relate to your friends, if you watch films that you like, okay, then you say, oh, this person probably would be my kind of person. We could be friends even, you know. So
I grew up watching a lot of films, and yeah, it was like having imaginary friends.
absolutely, absolutely. But in always, it's a matter of what do you want to do with your, you know, with your time, you know. So I come from this environment which is not particularly quiet or safe in a way, you know. There is a war,
Yeah.
and in this way, I've had some direct experiences of mortality and things like that. So simply you figure out, okay, well, how do you want to spend your life? Do you want to spend your life creating something that replicating something that already exists, or you want to spend your life exploring your own I don't know, soul, you know? Do you want to explore your soul through your art, if your soul exists, you know? What do you do? What is the point of that? Who knows, you know? But maybe there is some sort of inspiration that can happen between people, or it will help you to be, I don't know, a better something. But we can talk politics also. I think it is extremely important to make uncommercial stuff. In a way, this is, I mean, it's a crazy idea, but the only type of thing for me that is respectable is the thing which is somehow not selling anything, you know. If we fall to this market logic, I'm a brand, I'm selling this, blah blah blah. No,
Yeah.
don't sell me, please. Everybody's selling me stuff. I'm selling you a good time, I'm selling you blah. No. Just give me some sort of poetry, give me something to think
More
about.
like an exchange, but yeah, but like
Of
yeah,
course,
I don't know how to
of course,
explain that.
of course. That's why literature is beautiful, you know, that you have a book and you interact with the book. You go back, you read again, you read
You have
later.
no advertisement when you're reading a book.
Yes, you take your time and things like that. In this way,
Yeah.
cinema also, certain kinds of cinema function like this, and I think this is beautiful, you know. Like a long
Yeah.
time ago, of course, like everybody else, I was very excited for Blade Runner #2, you know, when it came out recently. But it's a
Yeah.
terrible film. It's a very, very forgettable film. Extremely forgettable film. I think the only interesting scene was the one between him and the android, which somehow reminds everybody probably of the film Her, which is very interesting film, simply in terms of premise, you know. But the
Yeah.
beauty of Blade Runner #1 goes beyond the plot of the film, and it's simply the faces of the people. And these faces, you know, you fall in love with Rachel, and then you want to find Rachel in real life, maybe, you know. These are bizarre things. These are perverse things. But this is how cinema, I think, affects us, and I think this is very beautiful. So the films we love are not the films, and that we keep going back to, are not the films that we care about what really happens in, you know. You simply get, it's an experience, you know.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. It's more like enjoying the experience and being in the present moment. Because when the film is really I don't like say good or bad, but if the film is relevant, you kind of you are in there. You are like absorbed. It's like dreaming, awake, watching that. And that's interesting because there is different types. And for example, the more experimental, the more intimate films feels like entering in the personal world of the person. And that's interesting because
Just a
myself,
second.
okay, there is a
Just a
dog, and
second.
that's now an airplane.
I have some, unfortunately, battery issues. I don't know how you solve your own. Of course, yes. No, I can't.
Well, in 5 minutes, it will be 1 hour of the life.
Okay.
I guess I don't know if ending
No, we are good.
your phone
We're
is
good.
dying, but
No.
okay.
I solved the problem. Yes, absolutely. This intimacy.
Okay.
When you watch a film of Tarkovsky, and you know Andrei Tarkovsky.
Yeah, I love him.
Yeah. So you see that there is a highly developed intimacy, and he's really developing his own inner world. He's really taking care of himself. His films,
Yeah.
I think, are ultimate example of self-care on this planet. So then you simply get inspired and you say, okay, I should do that. Maybe I will never make a film, but I should do that. I should cherish my.
I had exactly that thought when I saw the first time Tarkovsky movie. I watch it and I say, "Wow, I wanna do it." And then I watch it all his movies and then read the books, the Sculpting the Time, and yeah.
I would really recommend. He has a book of diaries. It probably can be found online for free, and
it's the one where he gets some things about making art more in a spiritual way, and there's a lot of talks about it, or not?
no,
Because
I was fascinated. He had a lot of problems. He had a lot of problems
yeah.
with producers, with censorship. He had a lot of I was fascinated by these problems in his life that somehow you don't see in the films.
He was so resilient to do the films. He had everything against him to do the films, and he did it anyways.
Yeah, in this way, it doesn't even matter what you are actually doing. It's simply about, for example, in the film Mirror, if you remember Mirror, it's very. I think it's a very hard film to watch. Very hermetic, very dark occasionally. But I was fascinated by his relationship with his mother, and it made me reflect on my relationship with my mother very much, and the way he remembers his childhood. It was very important, in a way, reference when we were making Minotaur. It was a very important reference. That film is very hard to explain or to talk.
Mirror is a film that has a lot of layers, because the first time I watched it, I don't know, I was 18. I had a vision different, and a life experience very different. And then I watched it again years later, and then I watched again recently. It's like different. You find different meanings on watching that, and as you told, the relationship with his mother, and reflections, and the poetry, and everything. If you don't have, I feel like that type of film with a lot of layers, the people that are watching, they I don't say that they need, but it's recommendable that they have other knowledges, so the person can have a better experience. Because if you show the film Mirror to someone that only watches Tarantino, he will say, "Well, it sucks."
It doesn't have to be. That I don't think so. But definitely, in a way.
Or they would sleep in the. I already showed the Stalker with to a guy, and he slept in the film.
I understand what you mean, but I would say that the for example, today everybody is very fascinated with diet, and we know, probably we know more about food than ever before. You know, we know what is good, we know the ingredients. And so there is a lot of talk about diet. There's a lot of fixation on what we eat.
Yeah, tap water, they calcify your pineal gland.
Of course, of course, of course. But I think the more serious, concern would be what kind of media do you consume, in a way. You know, what kind of films? When we should, I think we should apply the same kind of rigor to our cultural diet. What kind of culture we are exposed to.
Yeah, I agree. And I also do that in my life. And it's funny because I remember there was a friend, you know, the series Dark on Netflix. I never watch it. I don't like films that are too. I am very self-aware with the type of things that I watch because of that, because of the vibration, because I do believe that what we watch change our vibration for good or for bad or for higher or for low. And this friend, he was like watching Dark. He was watching all the episodes one after another. And in the day after, he had a lot of nightmare, and I could see a different vibe on him. He was like, I don't know, he was different. And then the other day he was kind of better, but yeah, it affects. So it's kind of problematic when we see like a lot of things being shown to people and how they are reacting on that.
I don't think we should go in a way of course, not in the way of restricting things, but simply think about including and offering more. I mean, offering diversity in cinema, and thinking about. So this is not something that we are doing. This is something on the level of education or the government, the schools, things like that. You know, television, the national TV. You know, because in my life, I have to admit, a lot of things happened by chance. You know, I was very fortunate as a kid. I was 14, and there was Kubrick on television. You know, I couldn't find Kubrick in the video store.
The synchronicities, the algorithms of the universe.
Not but or when I was very small kid, maybe 8 years old, I saw John Lennon on TV by accident, you know, and this was very important for me. I just saw him performing Imagine one time, you know. It was something like 3 or 4 minutes, but this was very unforgettable, and then it stayed with me, you know. When I was maybe 11 or 12, I realized, okay, I don't like this popular music for some reason. I don't know. I was not a big fan of something. I don't know. Tom Jones was a big hit, you know, Sex Bomb. I was like, Sex Bomb, yeah, but this is not so good maybe as I was not exposed, but this single exposure to John Lennon at some time helped, you know, or to Nirvana, or to you know, these things are very very interesting, and simply they should be offered, and not so hidden, maybe not so underground.
I agree, and people always be free to choose, but the people should have more the knowledge about how they interfere those things interfere on them. There's a theory about art in a more therapeutical way. The Alan de Bolton, I guess,
Yeah,
it's the
Alan
night
Botman,
the
yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
he gives a solution, like the museums should have different floors, and in each floor would have different vibes of art. So one was more like desperation, anxiety, one just about love, and so go on. I feel like for movies should be something like that, like a Netflix, for example, where I don't know, I want to feel more terror. So they indicate films that gives me that sensation. Oh, now I'm sad. I want to watch more sad movies, but not like the traditional genre types, but uh, more like in what I need to watch so I can work with that emotions. Because I feel like sometimes watching a movie, it's like transmuting some emotions too. I feel like I don't know, when I'm happy and watching a bad movie, I like that. I like the movie, even if it's not so good.
Yeah, it's a
And when
form.
I'm angry, I am pissed off with any movie that I'm watching. I don't know.
Of course, of course. It's like music, you know. Sometimes you're in the mood
Yeah.
for Pink Floyd. Sometimes you're in the mood for something else.
Yeah.
So for Metallica. So yeah. Of course, cinema can be consumed in this way. In my personal experience, I don't watch films. Maybe I don't have to watch the whole film very often, you know. In right now, you know, when I go back to some sort of films that I already know, that I know what kind of effects they have on me because I saw them, I can use them as some sort of, like some sort of drug, you know. So I go there for 30 minutes. I watch Kiarostami. I watch, I don't know, if I need to remind myself of something, of the beauty of the world, or how people can be deep, not
Yeah.
shallow, I will watch Tarkovsky for 30 minutes, you know, things like that. So, uh, you know, in this sense, these things are beautiful, and thanks to internet, thanks to torrent, they're available to everybody, and this is
Yeah.
extremely beautiful as well. So you can interact with these things. You don't have to pay anything, and I think this is essential. This is
I
essential.
agree. I agree totally. And films are like a collective experience, and the theaters and the experience of seeing a movie like that, it's very different. Of course, we have the videos on demand that is going to stay and have that place, and it's important too. And yeah, I would like to say more about it, but I think the time is it's just past more than 1 hour. Uh, but I really enjoyed talking to you.
I don't know if I said anything useful, but thank you for giving me the platform to talk about my stuff and weird stuff overall.
Thank you. Yeah, it was very helpful and inspiring, and yeah, it's it's nice to talk about film with someone that also do that.
Very nice to talk to you. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you. And everyone that watched it, and that's it. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye.